Well, WNBA GMs love the Dallas Wings, and it seems like Caitlin Clark is in another prove-it season, like she was in her rookie year. Remember, reality is coming and all that. But Caitlin Clark, if you've looked at a lot of the lists that have come out for the season, ESPN had her ranked 10th in the WNBA. The Athletic didn't have her on first team all WNBA. And today, the WNBA GMs released a survey of responses to questions heading into the 2026 season. Here were some of the responses. Which team will win the title? The Aces got the most votes.
A'ja Wilson looked at the results and could not believe her eyes. The WNBA general managers had just released their 2026 survey, and the disrespect toward Caitlin Clark was loud enough to shake the entire league. We are talking about a player who redefined the game as a rookie, yet the people running the teams are suddenly acting like she is an afterthought. A'ja knows what it is like to be at the top, but seeing the league's brightest young star fall this far in the rankings is something nobody expected. The silence from the Fever camp is deafening, but the numbers in this survey tell a story of a league that is ready to move on to the next big thing before the current one even hits her prime.
For MVP, but then here are the questions that are going to make some news. If you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the WNBA, who would it be? Paige Bueckers leads over Caitlin Clark. Clark got 50% of the vote last year. Bueckers gets the majority of the votes this year. Caitlin Clark comes in second. That speaks obviously to Paige's ability. It's interesting considering Caitlin's popularity, what caused the shift. Was it the injuries? I feel like that's a lot of the talk, and maybe questions about her durability, but maybe some motivation for Caitlin Clark this season. Then you look who's...
The numbers are absolutely staggering when you realize where Caitlin Clark stood just 12 months ago. Last year, when GMs were asked who they would pick to start a franchise from scratch, Clark walked away with a massive 50% of the total vote. She was the undisputed golden child of the WNBA future. Fast forward to today, and that number has cratered. She did not just lose the top spot, she was leapfrogged by Paige Bueckers in a move that has sent shockwaves through the basketball world. It is a complete reversal of fortune that suggests the league's decision makers are seeing flaws that the fans are completely overlooking in the highlight reels.
Her ability, but maybe some motivation for Caitlin Clark this season. Then you look who's the best point guard in the WNBA. Chelsea Gray dwarfs Caitlin Clark there. Last year, she and Gray split the votes, so a drop for Caitlin. I do feel like it must be the injury that's holding her back a lot. Then Dallas gets the votes for which team made the best moves this offseason, and I do think Dallas made great moves this offseason. I agree with that. I might, agree with the overall assessment there. And then you also get to which team is going to be the most fun to watch, and Dallas wound up leading the pack as far as that goes as well.
But it is not just the franchise player question that has people talking. When the conversation shifted to the best point guard in the league, the results were even more insulting to the Fever superstar. Chelsea Gray did not just win the category, she absolutely dwarfed Clark in the voting. Last year, the two were neck and neck, splitting the votes down the middle. This year, the GMs have moved on, leaving Clark in the dust. It feels like a coordinated effort to bring the most popular player in the world back down to earth, and it is happening right before the season tips off. A'ja Wilson is sitting at the #1 spot, but even she has to be wondering how the gap widened this quickly.
I would say, based on last year, she didn't play, so show me again this year, and maybe they are seeing other flaws in her game. I disagree with the results here. If I were starting a franchise, I would take Caitlin Clark. Shouldn't be a surprise to any of you, but I would have Paige Bueckers way high on the list. In fact, I ranked the top 25 players in the WNBA today and posted this. You can get the link to this in the description. And here's my top 25. A'ja Wilson, #1 until proven otherwise. Then Caitlin Clark, she was the most productive offensive player in the history of the sport as a rookie. There's no singular scoring.
The media is jumping on the bandwagon too, with ESPN recently ranking Clark as the 10th best player in the entire league. If that was not enough, The Athletic didn't even put her on their preseason first-team All-WNBA list. For someone who was the most productive offensive player in the history of the sport as a rookie, these rankings feel like a personal attack. It is almost as if the league has developed a collective amnesia regarding what she did on the court last year. They are calling it a reality check, but to those who follow her every move, it looks like a blatant attempt to suppress the momentum of a player who has already proven she belongs at the very top.
ESPN has her at 10th, and the WNBA GMs aren't picking her to start a franchise with and are putting Chelsea Gray ahead of her still as the best point guard. Chelsea Gray is the best in the league to me at creating her own mid-range shots, but I still think Clark is being undersold a little bit here and is about to remind some folks, because when it comes to Clark's ability to obviously pull up from deep, Clark's ability to get to the cup, Clark's ability to set others up and be this just offensive force, I don't think there's anybody like her. And Stephanie White said yesterday, the way she's defended is the ultimate compliment. And I think that says it.
So, what is causing this massive shift in perception? Many insiders believe the league's general managers are quietly worried about her durability. There has been a lot of talk about her recent injuries and whether she can handle the physical toll of another grueling season. This skepticism was on full display during a recent practice when Clark showed up wearing a full leg sleeve. The internet went into an immediate meltdown, theorizing that she was hiding a significant setback. When the face of the league shows even a hint of weakness, the vultures start circling, and the GMs are clearly taking note of every single limp and every single recovery day she takes.
Offensive force. I don't think there's anybody like her. And Stephanie White said yesterday, the way she's defended is the ultimate compliment. And I think that says it too. Now, maybe some of these teams see a weakness in her game in that regard, where they're saying she might turn the ball over, or if we get the ball out of her hands, she ain't gonna beat us without the ball. Caitlin Clark without the ball. That's another topic of conversation. But you don't guard somebody the way that she gets guarded unless you just have tremendous respect for her game. And that's why, I think Clark makes a push for the #1 spot this year. Wilson gets it until proven otherwise, obviously.
Stephanie White, the Fever head coach, tried to brush off the leg sleeve drama as nothing more than a style choice. She joked with reporters that it looked good on her and that the internet is a great resource for rumors. But behind the jokes, there is a clear tension. Clark herself addressed the sleeve, admitting she knew it would be the first question she'd face. She called it a little compression for the leg, trying to downplay the concern, but the damage in the GM's eyes was already done. They are looking for any reason to pick Paige Buchers or Chelsea Gray over her, and a piece of compression gear provided the perfect excuse to doubt her.
I think people forget at the end of the day, I care more than any of all of you. I want to be the best.
She said, I wanted the audio's a little low there, but she said, I want to be the best. I care more than any of all of you. And, everything's scrutinized. That includes the leg sleeve that Caitlin Clark wore to practice the other day. I think that caused a little concern that she might be injured again. You could see that leg sleeves are pretty commonplace, but I did ask Stephanie White about that leg sleeve, this video from Chloe Peterson yesterday in a WNBA Zoom, and she sort of brushed it off as a
The disrespect does not stop at individual rankings. It extends to the entire team culture in Indiana. The GMs were asked which team has the most promising young core, and once again, the Fever were snubbed. The Dallas Wings took the top spot in that category, with the GMs praising their offseason moves and their potential to be the most fun team to watch this year. It is a slap in the face to Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, who were supposed to be the foundational duo of the WNBA's new era. Instead, the league's power brokers are looking toward Texas, leaving the Fever to wonder what more they have to do to earn the respect of their peers.
About the leg sleeve today, and she knew it would be the first question.
The leg sleeve come about? I knew that would be the first question.
I wanted to ask about golf, but she went to the leg sleeve.
People are wondering. Just a little compression on the leg. I don't know.
So that was Caitlin Clark's response there, and she also addressed the off-ball thing, which just has taken on a life of its own, and it's stupid at this point. It really is just stupid at this point, because what Stephanie White said about it not being a revolutionary idea yesterday was absolutely correct.
Aja Wilson remains the gold standard, holding the #1 spot until proven otherwise, but the narrative around Clark is shifting from admiration to scrutiny. Some analysts argue that there is a growing pushback against her overwhelming popularity. These general managers are tasked with building winning teams, not selling tickets, and they seem to be signaling that they value veteran consistency over the Clark phenomenon. They are seeing flaws in her game that the casual viewer might miss, specifically her turnovers and her effectiveness when she does not have the ball in her hands. It is a high-level critique for a player who is still so young. There is a theory that the way Clark is defended is the ultimate compliment, yet the GMs are using it against her. Stephanie White pointed out that teams are throwing everything at her to get the ball out of her hands. The GMs see this and wonder if she can beat elite teams without being the primary ball handler. This off-ball conversation has taken on a life of its own, and frankly, it has become a point of frustration for the Fever camp. Clark herself has shown a good sense of humor about it, but you can tell the constant questioning of her versatility is starting to grate on a player who wants to be recognized as the best in the world. In a recent practice video, Clark's competitive fire was on full display. She told reporters, "I want to be the best, and I care more than any of you." That raw honesty is what makes her special, but it is also what makes her a target. She is fully aware that every move she makes is being scrutinized to the nth degree. Whether it is a leg sleeve or a missed shot in a scrimmage, the league is waiting for her to fail. This latest GM survey is just more fuel for the fire. For a player who thrives on being the underdog despite her fame, this underrating might be the most dangerous thing that could happen to the rest of the league. Looking at the top 25 players in the league today, the gap between Aja Wilson and the rest of the pack is shrinking, but the GMs are refusing to let Clark fill that void. They are putting players like Brianna Stewart, Alyssa Thomas, and even Jackie Young in positions that suggest Clark has a long way to go before she can claim the throne. Even Angel Reese, who had a productive season, is being monitored closely as the league's talent pool becomes more crowded. The GMs are rewarding tenure and proven championship DNA, which is something Clark is still fighting to establish in a league that does not give out participation trophies. The Dallas Wings being voted as the most fun team to watch is perhaps the biggest indicator of the shift in momentum. Last year, every eyes was on the Fever. Now, the league's decision makers are enamored with the moves Dallas made in the offseason. They are betting on the Wings' athleticism and their young core to leapfrog the Fever in the standings. It is a bold prediction that assumes Clark has reached a plateau, or that teams have finally figured out how to stop her. But if you have watched her career from Iowa to the pros, you know that betting against her ability to adapt is usually a losing proposition. One of the most interesting parts of the survey was the question of who is the best at creating their own shot. While Clark has the logo threes that go viral, the GM still pointed toward Chelsea Gray and her mid-range mastery as the superior skill set. There is a clear divide between what makes a player a superstar in the eyes of the public and what makes them a powerhouse in the eyes of a general manager. The GMs are looking for efficiency and shot creation that holds up in the final 2 minutes of a playoff game, and right now, they are not convinced Clark is the answer over the veterans. The injury narrative is the one that could truly derail everything. If the GMs truly believe Clark's durability is a question mark, it changes how they value her in the long term. Coming off a season where she didn't play a full slate due to various issues, the show me again mentality is rampant. They want to see her navigate the physical defense of players like Dejonai Carrington and Jackie Young for an entire season without wearing down. The leg sleeve might have been a style thing, but in the high-stakes world of professional sports, perception often becomes reality, and the perception is that she is fragile. Despite the rankings, Clark's offensive impact remains singular. No other player in the history of the WNBA has combined scoring and playmaking at such a high level so early in their career. She is an offensive force that requires a specific defensive scheme just to contain, let alone stop. Stephanie White's point about the ultimate compliment is the key here. You don't guard someone with that much intensity unless you are terrified of what they can do to your team. The GMs might not want to admit it in a survey, but their coaches are losing sleep trying to figure out how to keep her under 30 points. The rise of Paige Buchers in these rankings is also a major storyline. Paige has always been a darling of the basketball purists, and her return to full health has the GMs dreaming of what she can do in the pro game. By picking her over Clark to start a franchise, they are essentially saying that Paige's ceiling is higher or her game is more translatable to winning championships. It is a massive slight to Clark, who has already handled the pressure of being the league's primary draw. The comparison between the two will likely define the next decade of the WNBA, and the GMs have officially fired the first shot. Wait until Aja Wilson hears that people are already looking past the current era to the next big rivalry. Aja is still the apex predator of the league, and her position at number 1 is the only thing the GMs got right, but even she has to feel the tension in the air. When the league's most popular player is being ranked 10th by major outlets and second best in her own position by the GMs, it creates a volatile environment. The Fever are being treated like a mid-tier team with a flashy player, rather than a rising dynasty. That kind of motivation is exactly what a player like Clark needs to go nuclear. The turnover issue is often cited as the reason for her lower ranking among GMs. They see her high-risk passing as a liability in a league where possessions are gold, but what they fail to account for is the sheer volume of opportunities she creates. You don't get the rewards of her court vision without taking some risks. The GMs are playing it safe by picking the steady hands of Chelsea Gray, but they might be missing the bigger picture. Clark isn't just a player, she is a system. If you build around her correctly, the turnovers become a small price to pay for the offensive explosion she provides every night. There is also the Aaliyah Boston factor. If her offseason training is any indication, she has improved significantly and could be the key to unlocking Clark's full potential. The GM's failure to recognize the Fever's core as the best in the league ignores the chemistry that is building in Indiana. They are looking at the Dallas Wings moves as superior, but they are forgetting that Clark and Boston have a year of elite-level experience under their belts now. The disrespect toward the Fever's roster is just as shocking as the underrating of Clark herself, and it sets up a massive chip on the shoulder for the entire organization. The way Clark handled the off-ball question at practice shows she is growing weary of the narrative. She laughed it off, but the underlying message was clear. She knows how to play basketball, and the revolutionary ideas people think they have about stopping her are things she has dealt with since high school. The GMs are betting that she won't be able to adjust, but her entire career has been a series of adjustments. From being double-teamed at half court to facing the most physical defenders in the world, she has always found a way to produce. This season will be her chance to prove the survey wrong. As we head into the new season, the pressure on Caitlin Clark has never been higher. She is not just fighting for wins, she is fighting for the respect that the league's front offices are suddenly hesitant to give her. Whether it is the injury concerns, the turnover critiques, or the fascination with Paige Buchers, the hurdles are stacking up. But for a player who cares more than any of you, these rankings are just a checklist of people to prove wrong. A'ja Wilson might be the queen for now, but the battle for the future of the WNBA has just taken a very personal and very shocking turn. The GMs are asking her to prove it again, and if history is any guide, she is going to do exactly that. The third season is often when the truly great players separate themselves from the stars, and Clark is poised for a massive jump. The leg sleeve will be forgotten, the off-ball questions will be answered, and the rankings will be revised. But for now, the disrespect is on the record. The league has officially underestimated its biggest star, and the consequences of that mistake will be felt on the court every time the Fever suit up this year. Ultimately, this survey is a reminder that the WNBA is a league that demands excellence every single day. You can be the most popular player in the world and still find yourself ranked 10th by the experts. It is a cold world at the top, and Caitlin Clark is finding that out the hard way. But with A'ja Wilson watching and the rest of the league doubting, the stage is set for a redemption arc that could be the biggest story in basketball. The GMs have made their choice, and now it is time for Clark to make hers. The season cannot start soon enough for a player with this much to prove.